Good afternoon, dear students. I am JVN Dr. Lily Trivedi, and today I am going to give a lecture on the module Karnal Bunt and Ear Cockle of Wheat in the subject MSc Botany 3rd Sem in the discipline of Food and Biotech. Karnal Bunt of Wheat. The history of Karnal Bunt is that it was first reported of a new bunt disease in wheat came from the region of Faisalabad, Pakistan in 1909. This was presumably Karnal Bunt, which was the first formally recorded in 1930 near the North Indian city of Karnal by Mitra in 1931. Within India, the pathogen spread and can now be considered widespread in northern and central India. The systemic position is Eukaryota, kingdom Fungi, phylum Basidiomycotina, subphylum Eustylagomycotina, classes Eustylagomycetes, subclass is Exobasidiomycetidae, order is Tiliaceae, family is Tiliaceae, genus is Tilicia, and species is Tilicia indica. The mode of infection, the primary spread of disease. The leaves of the monocotyledons appear to support this sporadial survival. The secondary spread of infection is by the seed-borne and soil-borne disease. The favorable conditions of this disease is high humidity favors this disease. The temperature ranges from 8 to 23 degrees centigrade and the frequent rainfall favors disease development. The high dose of nitrogen and close planting favors the pathogen attack. This disease occurs in Asia, Africa, North and South America and in Europe. But in India it occurs in Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Here you can see the symptom, the picture, the infected wheat and the healthy wheat, and these are the grains which are showing severe infection, and these are the teletospores. The symptom. The fungus causes a reduction in the length of the ear as well as in the number of spikelets of bunted ears. The infected plants may be dropped. In general, the Tilicia indica rarely infects more than few species spikelets per ear and the whole affected grain is not swollen. Oblong or ovoid sori 1 to 3 mm diameter develop containing dusty brown to black spore masses. The smell of decaying fish on the grain is a characteristic feature of this Karnal bunt. In advanced attack, the tissues along the suture and the adjacent endosperm are replaced by spores. Both the glumes and the grains may fall to the ground. You can see a nice picture of the affected grains. The pathogen character. The teleospores are dark reddish to coppery, dull brown to dark brown. Some spores typically are black to opaque and globose to subglobose, occasionally with a mycelial fragment attached 24 to 47 micrometer diameter. Exospore with a thick truncate and compact projections are there. The economic importance of this disease. The disease appeared in Punjab around 1930. It was an epidemic there in 1953 and 1954. Until 1970, sporadic outbreaks occurred every 2 to 3 years in Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh regions with a disease incidence of 0.1 to 10%. Annual yield losses of about 0.2%. In 1974 and 75, the disease was epidemic in other regions like Himachal Pradesh, Tarai areas of Uttar Pradesh and Gurdaspur area of Punjab with 50% infection on the cultivars HD 2000. Here you can see the life cycle of Karnal bunt. The disease will start as the bunt infected head which forms the infected bunt balls or the bunt disease. These kernels which are infected then will grow on germination will allow the karyogamy followed by meiosis, and as the plant will grow along with the grain, these mycelium will grow. The teleospore is a dikaryotic which on germination will produce a basidium with haploid sporidia. These haploid sporidia will conjugate through edge structure and produce an infectious dikaryotic hyphae. This will again germinate along with the seeds and form a systemic infection of the wheat plant. The mycelium invading wheat head and the mycelium intercellular hyphae will become teleospores and infect the other plants. For the control or management, the cultural practices which are followed are to grow resistant varieties such as HD1907, L176, HI358, HP743 and L191. Crop rotation may help to control the pathogen because Tilletia indica can survive for up to 4 years in the soil. To prevent the spread of Tilletia indica into previously unaffected areas, the use of disease-free seeds is essential. Deep plowing is done to control the soil-borne pathogen. The split application of nitrogen fertilizer reduces the incidence of the disease. Bleach in combination with heat treatment is effective. Soaking at 35 degrees centigrade for 12 hours was the most effective treatment. The foliar spray of propiconazole was shown to be effective against natural infection in India. Leaf extracts of Azadirachta indica and Acacia fistula are used as spray. The seed treatment with thiram or carbendazim at 2 grams per kg seeds makes the seeds free from the seed-borne pathogen. Foliar spray of conidial suspension of Trichoderma viridi or Trichoderma harzianum at the rate 5 ml per hectare is very much helpful. Now we come to the second disease of wheat which we are going to take today, that is the ear cockle of wheat. Here you can see a picture of the larvae which are multiplying near the growth and the larvae in extensive, the affected seeds and the picture of the infected plant. The common name is wheat seed gall nematode, that is Anguina triticae. It means Anguinos means snake-like and Triticae is the host wheat crop. It was first to be recorded by Needham in 1743. Steinbuch in 1799 described it as Vibrio triticae. Philip Jave in 1936 gave it the name Angina triticae. In India, it was first reported by Milne in 1999 from Punjab. The systemic position of the pathogen is phylum Nematoda, class Cicernenta, order Tylenchida, suborder Tylenchina, subfamily Tylencoideae, family Anguinidae, genus Angina. Distribution: once present in all wheat growing regions of the world including Europe, Asia, USA, Australia, New Zealand, Russian states. The problem in India is present in the Eastern Europe and Middle East. In India, the north wheat growing states like UP, Bihar, MP, Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab and Delhi are faced with this disease. The host, it is specific to wheat and the different species of Angina form galls on different parts of plant. The parasite life cycle and biology. The parasite of the above ground parts. It is a parasite of above ground parts and the source of infection here is the infected seed material contaminated with cockles. Each seed gall called as cockle contains 3000 to 12,000 J2 stage of quiescent stage of nematode. When the seeds gain moisture in soil, they become active, nematode becomes active and come out into the soil. They ascend the growing points of the germinating seedlings and feed ectoparasitically between the leaf sheaths and growing points till the ear head emerges. Carried up along the growing plant, shielded among the young leaves, surrounded by the growing point, it enters the floral primordia when the earhead is still in the boot leaf stage and becomes endoparasite. The earheads emerge and the nematode molds quickly to adults inside the green galls. Each gall may contain several adults which mate inside. The female lay eggs and the fecundity is high. The eggs hatch into J2 stage and become quiescent inside the gall as the crop matures. There is only one life cycle in a season, and nematode can survive inside a dried gall for 32 years. The symptom of this disease, which is also called as Gala, Sehun, Mumney or ear cockle. The above ground symptoms which are seen are basal swelling of stem at 20 to 25 days, crinkling and kerning and twisting of the leaves, stunting and prostrate growth of the plant, increased tillering, earhead formation and prepone. Affected earheads are shorter and broader. The glooms are loosely arranged. The galls replace the seeds. Here you can see the picture of the healthy and the infected plant, and the healthy seed and the affected seeds. Now, Angina triticale, when along with Clavibacter triticale, causes Tundu disease or ear rot disease. In this, the nematode acts as a vector. The initial symptoms are the same. The low temperature and high humidity favors this Tundu disease, and the yellow slimy ooze on leaves, stem and earheads. This is because of the presence of bacteria which gives the yellow slime. Upon maturity it turns brown. There is no grain formation. Whereas in ear cockle disease, the grain formation was there and it was turning into cockle. Here in Tundu disease, the earheads may not emerge from the boot leaf. Tundu disease is more damaging than the ear cockle disease. The symptom of Tundu disease is the disease is characterized by twisting, distortion of ear heads and rotting of spikelets with profuse oozing of yellow liquid from the infected tissues. So I hope this was